how are you? This is Allie with Teaneck Creek Conservancy, and today we are going to be dyeing fabric with natural dyes. Exciting, right? So first of all, first step is you've got to choose your fabric. So there are several fabrics that are going to work for this. One of them is going to be cotton. Silk is another option. A good one to use would be wool, other linens, things like that. You want to kind of stick to natural fabrics. Anything synthetic is not going to hold the dye super well, so this is pretty important. I've chosen some cotton. Cotton's pretty easy to work with. Wool can be a little bit more difficult. You need to kind of have more of a process to like fix the dye to the fabric. So cotton it is. I just have a couple cotton squares. I have like 5 or 6 of them that I've chosen, and I'm going to be working with those. So the next step is we are going to be making sure that the dye is going to fix to our fabric. So what we need, what is called a mordant. It's basically just something that fixes the fabric and the dye. Simple, right? So a common mordant that a lot of people use is aluminum. They use potassium aluminum sulfate. And what that does is it's just very effective because it doesn't change the color of whatever dye material you're using. It kind of stays true to the color. Other people use things like copper, zinc, stuff like that, but it can kind of change the tone, create like darker hues, things like that. So you can look it up depending on what sort of effect you're going for with your fabric. So if I'm going for aluminum, I'm going to go with 1/4 cup of aluminum plus 1 ounce of cream of tartar for about 1 pound of fabric. So you're going to need to pull your scale out for this, kind of measure that out. If you aren't going with a wool, you don't necessarily need a mordant. You can actually go with a fixative. So fixative is slightly different, mostly just like a toned down version of something that's going to adhere your dye to your fabric. So a good fixative is actually salt. You can do 1 part salt per 16th parts of water. So make a nice big mixture. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our mordant and or our fixative, depending on which direction you're going, and we are going to put it in some boiling water and we're going to put it on the stove. And we're going to boil that until it gets nice and hot. Then we're going to take our fabric and we're going to put our fabric in. So if you want to come take a look closer in my pot, I have some fabric that I've been soaking in my mordant. I had it on the stove for about an hour so that it got nice and set in. You can do between 30 minutes to an hour. Then what you want to do is you want to let the fabric in the pot like cool completely so you can actually touch it. Okay, so now that that is ready, we're ready for our next step. We're going to prep our dye ingredients. So I've chosen to dye a couple different things today. The first one I'm using are beets. I love beets. Everyone loves the beautiful color that they have. So we're going to take our beets and we're going to chop them up into some thick chunks. The purpose of this is to get as much surface area as we can so that more of the liquid in the beets is going to seep out. We're going to get more of that color. So we'll get that all chopped. Beautiful. Okay. Now I'm going to use about 2 beets today. My beets are pretty big. They're large, so I don't need too much. And again, my squares of fabric are tiny. You can size this up if you're doing a bigger project, say a t-shirt, a blanket, whatever you are doing. It doesn't have to be an exact science with your plant material. It can be kind of whatever feels natural. So all right, so now that I've got my beets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them and I'm going to put them in a pot of water. I'm going to basically put double the amount of water that is in the per my amount of beets. So I'm going to take them, they'll be fully covered, plus about maybe an inch or so over top of them with water. So I actually already started my beets over in the other corner, so let's prep all of our other vegetables first, and then we'll move over and I'll show you guys that process. So the next material that I chose are onion skins. An unlikely one, but actually my favorite one to use when dyeing. Onion skins are exciting because they're completely a waste material. There's very little that you can do with them besides throw them either, well, I actually personally like to save some of them because they're useful if you are making soup. But for the most part, they're garbage. So a perfect material to dye with. So onion skins is as easy as that. You're just going to peel them straight off the onion and they're going to go straight into your water bath. Beautiful. My next material that I've chosen is turmeric. Another fan favorite. Turmeric is super easy. Comes already in a little powdered form. So perfectly easy to just add right in to our water bath. And I'm going to use about 2 to 3 tablespoons of turmeric for about a gallon of water. And my final one is avocado. So avocado pits are amazing at making a beautiful pink colored dye. So I'm going to open up my avocado, get right in there. Beautiful, got a little red on him from the beets. Take that right out, perfect. Okay, and I'm gonna take my avocado pit, and again, I'm gonna put it in a pot and just slightly cover it in water. So let's come see. Okay, so over here, I have my beets. These have been in the water for about 30 minutes, boiling. Well, I turned them off, but they were boiling. My onion skins, you can see, are leaving behind this really pretty orange color. Really excited about that. My avocado pits. Exciting. So the water's gone down quite a bit. You can tell a lot of it's evaporating. Turn my heat off. Okay. And then my turmeric. I actually threw my fabric in the turmeric. The turmeric is a slightly different process than the other dyes. So unlike the others, the turmeric actually, the fabric needs to boil in with the turmeric. So what you're going to do is once you get your turmeric to a nice boil, you're just going to take your piece of fabric, you're going to plop it right in, and you're going to let it boil in the turmeric for about 15 to 20 minutes. And what we're going to get is this. So I'm going to pull this out and give this a quick rinse for you guys so you can see the process of it after about a 20-minute cook. All right. Beautiful. Wow. All right. So, let's just, as you guys can see, this is a beautiful golden color. It's really nice. I love this fabric. Gorgeous. So what we're going to do with this is we can hand wash it the rest of the way. We can let it dry out. Because of the mordant, this is fine to go through the washing machine. That's no problem. It'll be okay. I prefer to hand wash mine only because I'm protective of them sometimes, but it's not going to hurt it. So as they dry, it is going to lighten up a little bit. So the color will kind of, you know, get slightly lighter. So let's check out our others. They have a slightly different process. So unlike the turmeric that boils in the water bath, these ones we're going to boil, then cool and strain. So let's start with our avocado pits. So we're going to take these and we're going to throw them right through a strainer. I've got one set up right here. When we catch all of the other materials that go through, I already had thrown a piece of fabric underneath in the bottom. So then I'm going to do the same process for the onion skins. Let me just, all right. So this, one thing that's important also, which I should mention, is before you put your fabric into the dye, you're going to take it and you're just going to hand wring it out. Just wring out a little bit of the water, and then it can go straight in the dye. So I'm going to do that right now for my onion skins. I'm going to put it into a stainless steel bowl. It's really important that you use stainless steel. If you use glass, it can stain. Plastic in particular will stain like very horribly, and you don't want to ruin your bowls. So stainless steel are your best choice. Got my onions. Perfect. You can tell it's reduced quite a lot. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to make sure that they're fully covered. This one I'm going to toss around in it a little. You can tell it's already starting to pick up some of that pink dye from the avocado pits. Really exciting. They're one of my favorites. Okay, and the onion skins. Perfect. So these ones are just in the first parts of starting to dye, but let me show you some that I did a little earlier so you can see more of the final process. So earlier I did some of the beets. Let's take a look at this one. So my beets yielded more of this natural, slightly reddish, but more like brownish tint, which is nice and pretty. It kind of actually reminds me of like that homemade paper. So there's my beets. So there's a lot of different materials that you can use when you want to make natural dyes. It's really simple. I know you guys have seen. You can do it in about an hour. It's pretty fast. So if you want to make reds, you can do things like beets. You can use hibiscus. You can do St. John's wort is a great one. Or sumac berries, in fact. I'm sure you guys have seen those as you're driving along the side of the road. They're always all over the place. You could also make sumac lemonade with those. Whole mix of things. So for pink, you saw we have our avocado pits. It makes a really, really pretty, like rose-colored pink. You can also do cherries. Lichen, funny enough, will make a pink color as well. To get an orange, you're going to go for the onion skins. They're going to make a really pretty orange color. You can also do eucalyptus leaves. They're very great for orange as well. For yellow, we're going for more of our turmerics. Where did I put it? Going for more of our turmerics. The boiling method, the hot method, does tend to yield more of an orange with the turmeric than a yellow, but you can see it's got a very pretty color. For greens, you can do things like nettles. You can do yarrow. Actually, chamomile works really well, but you want to make sure that you're using the fresh plant. You don't want dried chamomile. It's just not as effective. You'll end up with more of a muted color instead of a bright and vibrant color. So that's really important. Blues and purples are a little bit harder to get sometimes. They can be a little rarer in nature, but actually the inner bark of red maple trees will do it. So that's a good one. Elderberries will give you more of a purpley tint as well. Those are really beautiful. Blueberries, actually, sometimes you can get a blue from, but can be a little tricky. And yeah, and then if you want to make like browns or blacks, you can actually use coffee grinds or sumac leaves. Those are both effective. So I'm excited to see what you guys dye, and I hope you guys will share in the comments what you end up making. And I am going to let these finish up, but once they're done, I'll take photos so you can see the color change as they dry and as they finish soaking. One final. All right, thanks guys.